you guys that either just hopped out of the car, hopped out of the car years ago to talk to and about these, not and then go out and see them in the garage. Was that interesting for any of you guys?
I just loved it. You know, everything connected. I retired from God in 2017, I think, and this show made me feel like at times I was still a driver because you guys would come in right off.
All right, hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Racers News Network Live. As you can see, Pete is not here. He has award ceremony tonight at his high school. So filling in once again is the big man from the Mid-Atlantic Super Series. Of course, I'm talking about Rob Keister, who decided he's going to make the trip a little further north than he usually rolls in a couple weeks. So it'd be cool to see him at Lebanon Valley for the divisional event that's coming up the weekend of July 4th. And how's things there, Mr. Keister?
Good. And we're just counting down the days for our first race, hopefully finally. Of course, we got rained out in May at Cecil County, so counting down the days till June 29th and 30th at Maple Grove for our first two races of the year. And then I think that starts 6 out of 7 weeks in a row of racing between .90 and NHRA. So
awesome. So you convinced Dad to make the trip. Of course, we know he's going to drive, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we were going to go to Virginia for the national event. I just got a promotion at work. So I actually start my training for my new position on the 17th, which is the next Monday. And I had already had the days scheduled off for that Thursday and Friday of Virginia. And unfortunately, with the new position, they kind of said, well, we're going to have to veto your days off because you need to be in training for the foreseeable future. So I had to back off on taking my days off and bow out of Virginia. Vince Forcade got in touch with me and took my spot there for Super Gas. And then we were trying to figure out where to go, and the way things are with NHRA now is if unfortunately, if you want to get into a national event, you need 8 to 7 grade points to try to get in. There's the days of 2 or 3 or 4 grade points are pretty much done unless you go to like New England. So I said, let's go to Lebanon Valley. That'll give me a grade point and hopefully give me 7 or 8 going in the next year to decide what national events I want to go to.
Cool, yeah, because you had said something a while back about you eventually would like to get to Norwalk.
I went to Norwalk last year. Norwalk.
All right.
I went to Norwalk. Great facility. Went some rounds. I went 3 rounds there. I think Bristol is actually on my next bucket list item to go to. It was on my bucket list just because of the scenery. But then watching all the cars go over the bumps this past weekend, I'm not too sure if I want to go there. So,
right. Cool. All right. Well, of course, we have. For me, he's down here. I don't know where he is for everybody else on the screen, but of course, we have our guest tonight, LENNY LOTTIG. We're going to talk a little bit about the FX class tonight. Learn a little bit more about that, and learn a little bit, obviously, more about Lenny and his racing. And we were talking beforehand, and a couple of things we may dive into in a little bit, just to get his thoughts on it. But of course, welcome to Racers News Network Live, Lenny.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So let's get right to it. Tell us a little bit about the FX class, and it seems to be extremely popular.
Well, I've been fortunate enough in my life to do a lot of fun things, and I got to say that driving that car is by far the most funnest thing I've ever got to do. It ruined me now from other cars because after rowing the gears in that Liberty, I'm like, okay, nothing else compares. I've had more fun losing in that car than I had, I think, winning in my other cars before. It's that much fun.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about your racing past.
Well, My closest track is actually Keystone Raceway Park.
Okay.
And actually, I just took my wife there Friday night to get some runs in my stalker. And it was funny when I pulled in there, the track manager, because I haven't been there in oh my God, I can't even. Racing there's probably been at least the last time I probably raced there would have been IHRA had their stock, super stock, the races they would have there. So that had to have been 10, 12 years ago, I'd say. So anyhow, the new manager said, you know, I'm glad you're here. He said, have you ever been here before? And I said, 35 years ago, I made my first pass down the track at this place. I mean, that's where I would go. I mean, when I turned 16, that's where I would go and race my dart swinger, which I still have today.
Oh,
So
very
I still
cool.
have the first car that I had taken down the track, and actually now it's at the Daryl Huron's shop. It's getting converted over for to Liberty 5-speed too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if I had my choice, everything I have would be a 4-speed or 5-speed now. I mean, I'm actually looking to get I'm trying to pick up a Chevy 2 Stalker that has a 4-speed in it. I'm like, you know, this shifting gear thing is definitely has ruined me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is kind of cool about the factory, the FX class, is that everybody seems to be taking a theme to their car. Obviously, yours is Grumpy's Toy, dedicated to Bill Jenkins. And that is that just something that is part of the class itself, or is that something each one of you who built the car said, you know, this is kind of we're going to do a throwback.
Well, it took so long to get these cars built. Like mine was well, it would have been 3 years ago at the St. Louis race, whenever they came out with the announcement saying that they were going to make this FX class. I mean, I think it was within 2 weeks, I had my deposit at Jerry Haas's to get so it's been no, it took almost 3 years to get these cars, you know, from the initial conception to actually, you know, getting ready to get to, for me to get down the track was, it was over 2.5 years. So in the meantime, everybody had a lot of time to talk about everything. And so it was like, hey, it would be really cool to have a throwback, because they were like, this is how the old Pro Stock used to be, with, you know, the steel quarter panels, steel roof. And I don't even know who or how it came, who brought up the initial thought, because I know it wasn't me. I just jumped on the bandwagon of let's do let's do some throwbacks. And so with my crew chief, Dave Udini, you know, he worked with Bill Jenkins for, I don't know, 14 years or so there at the end. You know, so he had the good connection and the relationship with the family and all. And with being from Pennsylvania, and I'm from Pennsylvania, we did. So that's how we chose to do the Bill Jenkins tribute. So we got with the family, and you know, they gave us the permission to do that. So we went, and you know, and it's been a huge hit. I have to say, you know, we're at the track, you know, people, you know, absolutely love the old throwback of the Grumpy's Toy, and then, you know, and then you got all the other ones of the Stanfields, and with the Stephen Bell. So it, you know, it does look pretty cool to have you know, the old you know, seeing some of the old themes going down the track.
That's awesome. Rob, go ahead.
So what I know, like recently with the FX cars, there's been an influx of them and such, with, you know, I think your guys are getting about 8 or 9, 10 cars at a race now. Now, do you know if there's more cars on the way? Is there, or is it gonna be eventually be like a 16 car field? What's, you know, what are you hearing in the background as far as like a future for them?
I from what we've been talking to other people in the class, it does seem to be, I would say by middle to late next year, we should be close to a 16 car field. I mean, we were hoping to have because right now there's 10 cars competitive right now that's been on the track, and we've been waiting on the 10th car to come out. But again, these things, because they're not the pro stock where we throw the body on it. It's the steel bodied the components, and that you know, nothing was new to those. Or sorry, there was no stock parts. So like Roush just got the components for the forge to being done. So that's why, like say, Holbrooks just came out. No, he got his rebodied, and now like Jerry Haas should be just finishing up another Mustang very shortly. I mean, it should be close to any day now being done with the Mustang that he's being built. So know there's a couple Mustangs being built, and I've heard about possibly another Challenger coming out, and then there's a couple other Camaros that's already in the works. So it should be and there's supposed to be 3 Corvettes that was supposedly close to being ready to meet the rules. That's why they left Lonnie Grimm said that he left the Corvette body in because there was some 10.5 cars that was built for other classes that would easily be able to change, they said, to meet the rules. So that's why the Corvette was allowed to come in. So there should be 3 Corvettes here, supposedly this summer, coming back out in there. So it should be a 16-car field, hopefully by the end of next year. So, because like I said, it's absolutely the funnest thing I've ever got to do by far. I mean, it's like I said, it's a pretty well next level fun stuff. Highly recommend it to anybody's thinking about it.
So to kind of expand on that, is there any talk already of expanding the schedule for the FX class next year?
Yeah, they were. I mean, I've just from as the year goes on later, it'll be probably a little bit more into discussions. But I know it was an 8-race field this year because of like because they skipped Gainesville because there wasn't enough cars being ready. Because like my car was just being, we were actually testing my car at Bradenton. I think it was the second outing out the week of Gainesville, and actually I didn't even go to the Gainesville race because I swung up by and I picked Jesse's Alexandria's car up for him the weekend of Gainesville. So they just wasn't they didn't want to go to Gainesville with only having 4 or 5 cars. So they knew at Vegas there would have been 8 to 9. So that's why they pushed it back to Vegas to have the first race because they wanted to have at least try to have like an 8-car field. Just because of there wasn't enough cars at the beginning of the year to get started. So I would say next year it should be probably an 8 to 12 class race, and that's kind of where we would kind of like to maybe keep it at 12 races because it's a pretty good jaunt to go and leave work and to go to we're going all over the country. I mean 10 to 12 would be a comfortable enough for me to be able to get off work because like I say we're not a pro category. It's a class that we can still I'm still going to work every day to fund this project and and it's it's a week endeavor whenever we leave because we got to leave early enough to get there and get set up and to go back. So I mean, like when we're getting ready to go to Norwalk, that's I'll leave here Wednesday morning and get back Monday, and that's the closest race we have. So and then when we do the Western Swing, that's a 6-week jaunt just there. So it's kind of nice having the schedule like with the Factory Stock Showdown. Like that's kind of a nice schedule because that was I think that's what 12 was it maybe 12 races this year or 10 or 12, but it's they skipped the whole Western Swing deal because really most everybody's from the East Coast, South, mid South there. So it would be a pretty good haul for us to go clear out to the West Coast and to hit out there. So we're hoping. I mean, I'd love to see a 12 race schedule next year. I mean, that would be a nice, comfortable schedule for all of us. 12, maybe even 14 would be okay.
Right. Cool. So for those that don't know a lot about the car itself, can you kind of talk a little bit about the car?
Well, it's they kind of took this as the next step up from the Factory Stock Showdown. So it has it's steel roof, steel quarters, and steel rocker panels, and everything else has to be dimensionally factory correct. So we take the Factory X car and put it beside any of our other cars. They measure exactly the same. I mean, they got to have working headlights. The door handles have to be factory because like that was one of the things they specified. Like the factory handles have to work, so the tail lights have to work. So they actually have the real lights, the real door handles. So other than that, they're a pro stock car underneath of the skin.
Oh, wow.
So like the Jerry Haas showed me out there at his place, the jig that he built my car on was the exact same jig that he builds the pro stocks on. So it has the same rear end, the same suspension. Other than the engine placement. Now the engine placement is farther forward and it's up higher than where it would be on a pro stock car. And it's Well, and we just got a 50-pound weight break across the board to all three brands. So we're 2,600 pounds versus a pro stock. I think they're 2,300 pounds. So, and we got to run the 10.5W 33/16 tire. That's the tire for the class. So other than that, there, from the transmission back, it's a pro stock, less the tire.
Right. Gotcha. Go ahead, Rob.
So you think with all the talk and of course, you know, everybody, like I think before we came on, you were saying about how everybody gets on the internet and talk and they talk about pro stock basically being pro Camaro. It's everybody you talk to is, you know, oh, it's just pro stock. Do you see in the like down the road that this may eventually replace pro stock, or do you think you guys, you know, as a whole are just happy with the 12 races per year, not expanding it anymore, keeping pro stock where it is type thing? Or, you know, especially, you know, because having so many different manufacturers where you have a Ford, you have a Dodge, you have a Camaro, and then you said Corvette comes in there. So now it's a, you know, and I'm sure, you know, if they allow it, probably Toyota would probably stick their nose in there too to put some kind of a car together.
Well, there is supposedly talk of Toyota putting something together for this, because one of the differences with the Factory X is they don't have to build 50 cars. They can build one car and they can put it into the mix. I mean, because that was just a discussion I had at Chicago with some of the people from NHRA last week, or the last race, was that you know, there's going to be a lot more, because they were talking to me about all of the you know, the excitement that they have for this class. And I was talking with Ned Walliser about it. But the difference between why this won't replace pro stock, which is probably a really good reason or a good thing that you brought this up, is you know, people hate, you know, the haters of the pro stock say, well, it's pro Camaro, and they don't like it that everybody's running the same engines. Well, that's the same reason they do the parity adjustments in Factory Stock Showdown and Factory X. So it's either you got to have one or the other. You can't have both. So they do so the pulley changes and the weights that they do in Showdown and Factory X is it's the either or what you do against the pro stock. So in the pro stock, you know, I mean, that's their thing is, you know, that's probably the most competitive class there is when you look at how tight that field is. And it's because, you know, they are essentially running the same, you know, the same power plants, because, you know, other than Perinsky, they're all running, you know, that DRC engine, the 500 cubic inch deal. So, you know, so it comes down to, you know, the tuning and the driver and the you know, the crew chief race in there. So that's why it's so tight, where, you know, so you get the parity adjustments. Well, people hate the parity adjustments. And I'm like, well, it's one or the other. Either everybody runs the same spec engines, or you go and have parity adjustments. I mean, so you go and you look at you know, the pro, the everybody says about the Camaros. Well, I'll be the first one to say I was never a Chevrolet guy. I mean, everything I have in my stable, my other garages, is either a Ford or it's a Mopar. I mean, I've always raced Mopars up until now. I mean, I ate a lot of crow whenever I got my first Copo, but back in it would have been in 2020 whenever I tried to buy a drag pack. Couldn't buy a drag pack because the people that make the Ford drag packs was making the drag packs, and so you couldn't get a Cobra Jet either. So I said I tried to get a drag pack. I tried to get a Cobra Jet. Well, you couldn't get them. So because I was working with David Barton back in, and he kept saying, I said, I want to get a drag pack. He said, no, because you can't get them. I'm like, well, because you need to get a Copo. I'm like, no, so I want to get a Cobra Jet. He's like, he goes, can't get no parts for him because you need to get a Copo. So I reluctantly then went and got the Copo. And the reason being is, you know, they still make parts. So you know, I'll give it to Chevrolet. The customer support that they give is hands down tenfold better than the Mopar or the Ford. I mean, the iron block that the Ford runs in their Mustangs, because I was going to go and switch. I was going to switch it up in 22. Yeah, in 22, the end of 22, I was going to go and I was going to go and jump over to the Mustang or back to the drag pack. And we actually was on the personal phone call with John Schumacher, said, hey, where can we find some engine blocks? Because there was a bunch of drag packs for sale. And I said, hey, let's go. We'll get a Showdown drag pack. and I still had time to change my FX car to a drag pack. Well, there was no engine blocks to be found in the United States. We was calling everywhere trying to find engine blocks. You couldn't get those. And even now, I think Ford just came out with a handful of the iron blocks, which that's the holy grail in the showdown cars, because they seem to hold up a lot better than the iron and the aluminum block. Because with the Fords, I mean the Ford right now, if I had my choice and had a clean slate, I would have like a Ford Mustang if I wanted to go factory stock showdown. Because like right now, the rules are given back to them, hands down. They should be dominating. Which there haven't been any of the Fords out at any of the last couple races, because a lot of the Ford guys were at the NMCA thing. Holbrook had some issues at the last race, so he wasn't able to make the Charlotte race. So hopefully he's back at Norwalk with his crew. So the Ford should really be coming on strong. So when I hear about the pro Chevrolet garbage on the Facebook, it makes my skin crawl, because I'm like, my God, if these people actually knew the real story, there's no way that NHRA is favoring the Camaros. It's just, if I go and break a block, I can go to my Chevrolet dealership and get a block for my car, because Chevrolet sells thousands of these blocks, those LSX blocks, because that's what they sell to the industrial customers, the marine engines, because we was after them to try to make our block better. And they said, hey, we can't, because we use it in so many other applications. It's just not a race engine block. Because it's a standard engine, no push rod block that that they go and supply, and you can get parts. I mean, I hate to say this, I have like zero loyalty to any of the brands. I own all of them. I like all three of them. But there ain't one of them that says, oh, I know who Lenny Lottig is. He's a racer. I'm going to go, help support them, because they don't do anything with drag racing. So I'm like, I buy what I can race with and keep racing with, because I know the last thing I'd want to do is have a car sitting here and not have an engine block and say, oh my God, I can't go get no parts. So Chevrolet, like, they quit making Cobalt how long ago? What, 10, 12 years ago? The Cobalt parts is their highest selling parts that they make. Now it came from the Chevrolet guy that was, because we was saying, hey, here we are, we're investing in all this program. Here we go, you're not making no parts no more. And he's like, no, because they'll still continue to support, make all the parts, because that's what they do. And that's when he told me about the Chevrolet or the Cobalt, that they're still making parts for the Cobalt, because that's a big selling car that people like to race with. So, and kudos to Chevrolet, they give customer support, and that's where it's at. So I think that's the difference between why there always will still be pro stock, because the pro stock racing and that mentality, that's like going down one road, and the factory X is a clear different path, with the whole parity deal, and it's a whole different animal of having to work with it's essentially a stock eliminator engine, and that's a whole different world than what the pro stock is. So I think there's plenty enough room for both entities to live happily. It's just to get enough more people, because it is. Other than it being crazy expensive to go and build one of these cars, it's that's the only drawback, is the doggone fun meter is over the top.
Very cool. Pretty much answers that question, doesn't it, Rob?
Yes.
Yeah, because you do see a lot of the BS that going around the internet in general, Facebook specifically, obviously, about that. It's all Chevy, it's whatever. Good.
Facebook is a thing for everybody to get on their little perch and to complain about stuff. And that's really what it comes down to. You look at everything that's going on right now with the JR Gray thing, with you look at the Pro Mod final. JR Gray unfortunately was disqualified from the final after he won, and because they found out one of the safety switches was not either turned on or engaged or whatever it was, and everybody's losing their mind saying that NHRA did this, and then they should have let them think. But then you look back, that even like Greg Anderson had number one qualifier thrown out, I think from Charlotte or Dallas last year, where they changed the motor or something where it was, and they forgot to hit the switch or engage the switch, and they found out when they did the inspection that it wasn't engaged, and they threw the run out. Unfortunately, it's we have a rule book for a reason. It's you know, it's even in my series, I get arguments about that too, is because, you know, you can go down to a regular bracket race at a, you know, Maple Grove or whatever, and sometimes they don't make you wear fire pants. But in Super Street, we make you at least wear a 1 layer fire pant. And, you know, I get people argue with me all the time about it. So it's just, but I feel Lenny's pain. And when he reads all this stuff, probably on Facebook, and probably wants to pull all his hair out. So,
I beat you to it, Lenny.
Yeah, I go and I scroll down through. My wife would be like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just reading all these comments because I'm always looking down through there and getting a chuckle out of them because I have to laugh because I mean I will say the Ford and the Mopar loyalists are very passionate about the brand loyalty, and God bless them. They are definitely very passionate people. I'll give them credit for that.
Absolutely. Brand loyalty, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you talked about before we came on was you fell in love with rowing through the gearbox in your Factory X car. Now you talked a little bit about your other car that you still have from back in the day, and you're going to convert that over. What has everything you raced prior to this been an automatic, and then you had to go with the Liberty, and it was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, 'cause I did no, I just had a bracket car, like my car that I converting over that I've had since I was 16 years old, my Dodge Dart. Um, that had a 727 in it with the trans brake, and then I had and then we had we had a Chevrolet Stalker that we messed around with for a while, and that's actually what got me into um, class racing. Whenever we did class racing with the heads up, that kind of ruined me there. From I said, man, this heads up stuff is awesome. It was like I don't know, probably back in the it would have been probably in the mid or like around 2008, something like that. There probably we went and did the JEG Sports Nationals, and when we won class eliminations with our stalker, and I was like, oh my god, this is real racing now. The heads up stuff. So then it kind of tried to go into that route down that path. So that's when I got into this factory stock showdown, was because I wanted to do heads up racing, and it's hard to get into a class to do heads up racing because there isn't many of them, and that seemed to be the most logical, easier thing to get into at the time was the factory stock showdown. And because I liked the foot braking aspects, that's why I didn't really want to get into the super stock, because everyone else, most of them people, have a button in there, and I kind of still like the foot brake. I mean, I like the foot braking and even the manually, because the factory stock showdown, you foot brake those cars and you had to manually shift them, so it made me feel like I was still kind of in there, doing the deal. And I actually was hoping that was going to make it an easier transition to go to the real clutch in the FX car, but it didn't. It was like I had to learn driving from the very beginning over again. Cause I'm thinking, oh, I'm foot braking, leaving off the brake, leaving off the clutch. What's the difference? I'm leaving off the pedal. Well, no, it was a learning curve that was straight up and very hard. I mean, Erica Enders came to the track and coached me, and she saved days. She's definitely, an ace at driving and an ace at coaching. I gotta give her a credit for that, because she saved days off of us and probably tons of clutch parts by coaching me through know how to go and do the burnout, how to be staging the car, because the burnout and the staging the car, and everybody kept saying, once you get a burnout down, everything else will be easy. And I'm thinking, it's a burnout. How hard could it be? Well, let me tell you, when I watch the people in pro stock do a burnout and that car goes straight and it goes where the guy is holding their foot where they could be, that's like a work of art, because that is not an easy feat to do. You can do a burnout and go past the starting line, yeah, but to go past and make that tire hit that mark where they're holding their foot at, that's like a work of art, because it's too hard on the throttle, not hard enough on the throttle, not steering it quick enough to get over to counter steer the car, getting off the line. Everything has to be in perfect alignment to get done. So it's which is why I think I like driving it so much, because it's so much harder to do. All four of your extremities are doing something different at the same time. So
Well, it's like you with the top end throttle stop, right, Rob?
Yes. Yep.
Lenny and I were talking about that before you came on. I said, he asked who you were, and I said, oh, I said him and his dad have a wagon that runs super gas, and it's got the top end throttle stop. Oh, I know who that guy is.
Yep, that's us. We're the oddballs, the one that Jerron loves to pick on.
Yeah.
Hey, it's outside the box thinking. I like it.
Yep.
Oh, very cool. So, what's the rest of your racing schedule for 2024 looking like?
Well, we leave this coming weekend to go do testing because we just got we got an eighth of an inch pulley reduction, so that gave us back some power, and we got a 50-pound weight reduction on the rear, so we know it's going to pick up our 60 foot times and accelerate the whole process. So we're going to go testing the week before Norwalk. So we're going to go a couple days next week testing, then we go to Norwalk, that race, and then our FX race that is done until Indy. So then we don't go back to FX racing until we do Indy, St. Louis, Dallas, and then back to Vegas for the FX. But we'd like to go. I mean, I'm going to go and try to hit like those JEG Sports Nationals and the Numidia race, the double points race at Numidia, and then that class race that Ken Maley has put on, and I want to try to hit that one up here in the summer. And then I'd like to try to go up and hit Brainerd because they are running factory stock showdown at Brainerd. And even if I don't run the showdown, I'll at least go back up there and run stock again, because that's the first place I ever went to the semifinals with my stalker. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this without running my showdown car. Because I've always struggled with my stalker because I never gave it the love that it's needed. Because I've never, when we go testing all the time, well, I'm always testing with either the showdown car or the FX. Well, the years before it was always a showdown car. Like I just did divisionals to get the grade points and never did any time with the stalker. So I'm actually probably having a better time this year. Well, I'm definitely having a better time with my stalker this year. And I think it may be because I'm not running my showdown car. So like I said, I mean, at Vegas, I mean, I thought I was going to win the race at Vegas. I mean, I was just killing the tree and we was running the number at the Vegas. And then at where was we just at Charlotte, we went some rounds there and just, the races that I've been losing now with my stalker, I'm like, I can't even complain that I've lost because it just was a good race that my win light didn't come on. So I said, I can't even be upset at those races that I've lost because those were just a plain good race that I just didn't win. So, but like I say, with the Brainerd, we'd like to try to hit the Brainerd race, either just with stock or stock and the factory showdown. So other than that, there are a couple of divisionals, and then I'm trying to get my wife to get some seat time in the stalker because I like to get her hopefully racing some of the divisional races and stuff with my stalker end of this year or next year. So
Cool.
because we're not, it's like we're bored, so we have to go to the track and race whenever we're not doing this work stuff.
Work always gets in the way of the fun stuff.
It really, it so cramps my style. It's definitely overrated, but I don't want to retire because everybody I know that's retired, all they tell me is how busy they are. And I'm like, hey, I work full time and I can kind of take off and go racing all the time. And if I get retired, I'd be too busy. I don't want to be that too busy. So I'm going to keep working. I like my schedule that I have now.
Very cool. Oh, Rob knows he's got like 7 jobs.
I do. Full-time job, part-time job, president of a racing series. And somewhere in the way, I find places to try to go racing.
Very cool. Lenny, now how about people that help you out with your program?
Well, I got a fabulous crew. I mean, I got Dave Yadini and Tommy Lane are our crew chiefs. Because then I race with Jesse Alexandra, who has a Factory X car and he has a Factory Stock Showdown car also. And I just met him whenever we was Factory Stock Showdown racing, because we was racing together and became good friends. And he got ordered an MVX car, and then he actually races out of my shop here because he lives in Wisconsin, but his haulers and all of his race cars stay here at my shop here in Pennsylvania. And then so we share all of our, so kind of helps split everything up that way. And we have it's a 2-car team, so we get to share the data at the track. So we have so Jesse Alexandra is a teammate, and then we have Tommy Lane and Dave Udini, who those guys have I don't know how many world championships under their belts between pro stock and factory stock showdown and comp eliminator. And because they when they came with us in 23, whenever Bill Skillman said he was retiring, because when we was at Gainesville 22, which was the first NHRA race I won, Bill Skillman said he was retiring at that race, and I knew I knew of Dave and Tommy. I knew Dave a little bit more because I'd always see him at some of these divisional races because he's from Pennsylvania too, and so I hit them up right away about, hey, where are these guys going for employment here next? Because we knew we had these FX cars coming, and so thank God they jumped on board with us, and they took our program to the next level. Whenever they came on board in 23 with because the FX cars wasn't ready, so we just did the showdown. Like, and their exact words was, well, we'll go mess around with the showdown this year since we don't have the FX cars. And my God, I don't know how many races I won last year. I won 3, I think, NHRA national events with the showdown, and a couple runner up at some NMCA stuff, and won the World Pro Mod race. I mean, it was the over the top life experience when those guys came on board. So those are our 2 crew chiefs for those. And then naturally, my wife Linda is. If anybody's at the track, they always comment on that. Like, Linda works as much as 3 guys does. I mean, she throws the awning up, takes the awning down, takes care of everything at the racetrack. I mean, she's equal to 3 good guys without a doubt. But then we have I have a Josh Sander and Greg Lowry, who actually work full time at my fabrication shop, but they're both big motorheads, and they enjoyed drag racing, and so when we was getting these, I said, hey, I need a back half guy, I need a clutch guy. So so when they're not working at the normal job, I pull them out of the shop and they go racing with us. And then we have Marty Reinhardt and Todd Hoven. They go and they work on Jesse's car. And then we also have Frank Aragona, and we have Dave Pence. So that's our traveling circus of who we have. It comes with us to the track to all the races. And then I have my normal job at ITI Trailers Truck Bodies. Everybody there, it seems like everybody races some sport of something. And so they're all big into racing, whether it be go-karts, dirt bikes, all kinds of other drag cars. And so they're all kind of into it. So like so when I walk into the shop, they like, okay, is this going to be work related or race related? Because we're making more trinkets and stuff for the race program. Whenever I'm like, hey, I was thinking, and they're like, oh crap, what's he coming up with now? Because we're always making stuff, for whether it be for the cars or in the haulers, constantly when we're making stuff. I mean, Tommy keeps saying I got to get a catalog out because he's always saying about it's a catalog item. We just made some fancy injector plugs because we were like looking at the injectors for the engines, and so I took the O-rings off an injector and we mocked up an injector and burned out a whole bunch of plastic injectors. Just that was today's project. So we're always making stuff at the shop. So I have a really good support at work and at home, and because to race at this level and to be good, you got to have good support. Because I always said I ain't that smart. I just got to be around smart people. And that's been the success in life for pretty well everything.
Oh, very cool. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking time to come on and hang out and talk about your cars with us and your racing in general. And, obviously best of luck the rest of the year. And again, thank you very much.
Oh, sure. Hey, sorry, I probably talked an awful lot, but if anybody talks to me at the track, they know my mouth runs like a duck's behind the water. So.
Well, very cool. Like I said, thank you very much, Lenny. I appreciate your time.
Hey, and then if like I say, and I will have to say, everybody on the FX circuit seems to be openly welcoming to everyone, to all the spectators, because we do get like a lot of fan base coming by. So I do recommend to anybody, don't be shy and stand at the back of the, if from afar. You walk up to anybody's pits, and everybody is very welcoming to come in, because it's a very interesting class, and everybody's very interactive. So I encourage everyone to go and don't be bashful. Walk up and say hi to any of them, and you'll get a nice tour of the cars because, like I say, you get to see. I mean, you got Stephen Bell's Mustang and Chris Holbrook's. I mean, those Mustangs to me are just the cat's meow. 'Cause I am kind of a Mustang guy. And then you got the Blackbird there with the running the flag for the Mopar people. So there is a lot of cool people. So it's very everybody's very outgoing and receptive to have people stop by. So everyone don't be shy and saying, and everyone's welcome to come by our pits. I mean we try to be very opening up to everyone to come in because like I said, if it ain't for fans there, sitting in the stands and coming around, it would be pretty doggone boring.
Well, if you have any influence on the schedule, tell them to come up to New England next year.
We keep saying that because I want to go up there and eat some good food at the lobster place and stuff, I mean, because one of my good customers is right there outside of Boston, and I'm like, man, it'd be awesome to go and be racing right there outside of because United States Service, that's right where they're at. But they didn't race comp there, and they didn't race Showdown or FX. I'm like, I'd have to go up there and just run my stalker, and it's not that that would be a bad thing. It's just with the schedules to just go and run one car, and for me to go race one car national event, I'd be like, man, this is like not much going on. So I like to at least race two cars. I'd race three if they'd let me.
Keep yourself busy, right?
Yes.
Well, again, very cool, Lenny. I appreciate your time and thanks for hanging out with us.
Sure. Appreciate the invite.
All right,
Thanks.
buddy. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Yep. Take care.
All right, bye-bye now.
Bye.
All right, Lenny Lottig, our guest tonight, talking about factory stock and the factory X cars. So if you get the chance, get out there and check them out. Have you gotten a chance to see the FX cars up close and personal yet, Rob?
No, I have not. They haven't been anywhere. They were at Norwalk last year when I went, but they had only had 3 cars, I think. 2 or 3 cars. That was like maybe the first race that they had really been in competition besides being an exhibition thing. And I think there might have been 3 cars, 4 cars. I'm not too sure. And when you go to a racetrack for the first time, just trying to find the layout of the land and trying to see where everything's at. And it's as pretty well, especially with your little get up that you got going on, trying to get around the pros pits when it's peak time for them is virtually almost impossible. So
Yeah.
between everybody there and then everybody screaming at you, get off your bike and stuff. So I kind of stay clear of going over the pro area to go watch, or and I don't think I even watched them on the track. I'm not too sure. So
Gotcha. All right, so Mid-Atlantic Super Series. Obviously, you got rained out the first time. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Your next event is coming up. What'd you say? The end of June?
Yep, June 29th and 30th. It's the same weekend of the Norwalk National. Unfortunately, as I explained to some people, when these tracks throw a date at you, you have to take it. We're in that, especially here in the Northeast with ACO closing and Englishtown closing many years ago. These people, if these promoters are looking for places to go race, and as we get less and less tracks, these tracks are filling up quicker and quicker when it comes down to dates now. And you really have to put together a program now that the tracks are going to go for it. I mean, I've had a little bit of people come back to me because I've added stock and super stock, or I've added juniors, or I've added top 32. And the thing is, it's just, you got to be able to put together a package to be able to tell these tracks that, hey, I'm bringing 200 cars, I'm bringing 250 cars to this track that's going to be profitable for you guys for a weekend to give to us. The days of just giving us a Saturday to have 50 cars show up is gone now. I mean, really. So, but yeah, June 29th and 30th, it's at Maple Grove. It is also that weekend is just the .90 cars, so stock, super comp, super gas, super street, and then the top 32 classes of top dragster and top sportsman. We're also there with their Sunoco ET bracket series, so you'll have your super pro, sportsmen, junior dragsters, motorcycle. So it's an action-packed weekend stuff. So because of it being an action-packed weekend, it is a one-time shot and go on both days for us. And then we take a couple weeks off, and then we go to our first ever visit, the Mason-Dixon Dragway out in Boonesboro, Maryland. Really looking forward to that race. Really not sure as far as what car count's going to be. It's a newer track. It's maybe a little bit out of the norm for some racers, but that's also a .90 and top 32, and then we have a pro and super pro race also included on there, and hoping to have a good turnout, that they'll be able to welcome us back for next year, and such. But it's a catch-22, especially with any new racetrack, and any racetrack that's not in the vicinity for a lot of racers. So, but I joke with a lot of people. I said, if we could get 50 cars show up, NHRA would put a division race there, and they'd be crashing into each other to get into their front gate. So it's just but and then we got the Uncle Buck Pig Roast in August 3rd and 4th, and then we close it out the weekend before the Maple Grove National event at Cecil, September 7th and 8th. So on both the August race and the September race at Cecil will have stock and super stock there. So they're gonna have a 4-race showdown for a champion. We'll have juniors, top 32, gamblers races on the August race, and then the United Stock Super Stock Series with us in September, along with .90 guys. So,
Cool.
so all action-packed weekends really when it comes down to it. So.
Awesome. Now, definitely seemed like there was a lot of people really interested, a lot of the stock, super stock guys, for the race that obviously got rained out at Cecil. So you can't, well, I mean, you can, but I don't think you can honestly say that there isn't buzz about the stock, super stock stuff at Cecil for you guys.
Well, I think, really when it comes down to it, it's like what we talked about a little bit about earlier, is that guys are trying to, these guys that can't travel to 6, 7, 8 divisionals a year are trying to find alternatives. And rather it be, the stock, super stock series, the all-star series up your way. There's a great late stock, super stock series out in Michigan. There's a couple other races out, out and about and stuff. And they're looking at alternatives, and that's really what it comes down to, because people want to race. That's, we don't like we don't like our car sitting in the garage with covers over top of them and not racing. And people are unfortunately starting to look at alternatives now. Is that, you look at Norwalk. Norwalk was a 60 car quota to get in, and it was filled within 5 minutes. And unless you are quick draw McGraw right on the thing to get in, or you have a grade 7, you must forget about trying to get in the Norwalk, because you're just not going to get in. So I think people are trying to, and unfortunately the economy is not really that great right now. So, the gas is starting to go down a little bit, but it's still costing people an arm and a leg to go to these events. So, it's I'm hoping that we're gonna have a good turnout at our first couple races. And so far, our membership hasn't been the greatest so far, but no matter how many times I push it and beat the drum to send in your membership forms so that it helps Dina out for the first race, people still wait for the first race of the year to sign up.
There you go. Yeah.
And to give over your membership form. So it is what it is. So like I said, you beat the drum as much as you want to. People, unless I think you put a deadline on people and tell them, hey, March 1st, all memberships need to be in, and if not, you don't run for points. I think that's the only way you're going to get everybody that's going to enter your points, points program. So, but yeah, I do have one, I guess not a gripe, but so the past weekend, Rock Haas, anybody who knows Rock, he's a Division III super combat super gas racer, ran a race out in mid-Michigan Motorplex. And he did similar to what I did back in the day, back when we had the .90 Nationals at New Media. the ACO .90 Nationals, I think in 17, and then we also technically the Dave Stein race was a big money race for the .90 racers also. And they had a race at Mid Michigan Motorplex. They did a free top 8 shootout, no cost, $1,000 to win. I think $400 runner up, or it was on Friday night. And they gave everybody 2 qualifiers, and then you had to qualify for the top 8. And then they did a free event, no cost, no nothing, $1,000 to win. And then Saturday was $5,000 to win in Super Gas and Super Comp separately. And then Sunday was $3,000 to win in Super Gas and Super Comp. They also had the Super Stock Association, the pro and the pro race and the Super Pro race. And it was $400 to enter. And they got rained out on Saturday. So they combined the $5,000 race and the $3,000 race together to make $8,000 to win on Sunday. And they had 15 Super Gas cars show up and 31 Super Comp cars show up.
Wow.
It baffled my mind because they actually had live coverage on NHRA.TV with Warren Evans. And I turned for like a couple seconds. I turned back and Super Gas was done and they were already running into another class. And I was like, where's all the Super Gas cars at? And it just, I don't know. It baffles my mind. You know, and I told Rock, I said, I've been there. I know what it is. I don't know what you could do is to try to get cars to show up. I really don't know. And just, I wish Pete was here so Pete could probably chime in a little bit as far as theory behind this. I know everybody says if there's not a Wally or not a grade point, then they're not showing up, which I think is a silly excuse, really, when it comes down to it. But I know talking to a lot of people, some people still live in 1980, 1990 when they think that they're going to get $25,000, $30,000 for a divisional event or a national event win. And right now they're not. The contingency is tough to get when it comes down to national events. And you have to fight with these companies to get money, and it's tough. I mean, heck, it's been 2 years since I won New Media, and there's still 2 companies out there that owe me money.
Wow.
It's $100. It's not like the $1 million. It's $100.
No, but it's the point. Plain and simple. Could be $20, but it's still the point. That whoever owes you, that amount of whatever amount of money it is, and you're banging your head against the wall to try to get it from them, and it's just not fair.
Now, I mean, it might be location. It might be, I don't know. Mid Michigan's a little bit, up north. It's near close to, I mean, I don't know how far it is. It's not too far from the Canadian border. But it's still, probably a good haul for some people. And I know Bristol was the same weekend, but I think there was only 42 Super Gas cars, and I think maybe like 45 Super Comp cars at Bristol. So it wasn't a whole bunch going on the national event side. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if the answer is that NHRA is kind of forcing people with the low quota counts and the high grade points, to forcing them that a lot of guys are going bracket racing now and just not wanting to deal with the NHRA stuff anymore. And it's a shame because now you're seeing the series and the independent promoter are starting to struggle a little bit trying to survive.
Right. Or they're going after the bracket racing, the big money side of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, any Tom, Dick, and Harry will tell you the smartest thing for us to do as for racers is to go run for the money and stuff. But you look at some of these packages that are being thrown down these bracket races, and it's just better safe to stay home.
Right.
I mean, guys are out there running 9 packages where it wasn't being sent home because the other guy's 5-pack, total. And it's like, you laid down a great race, a great run. You think you're there, you think you're where you need to be, and it's like, yeah, tough luck.
To you, yeah.
but I just don't know what the answer is. I wish I knew what the answer was. You know, I've even, you know, I have paper actually underneath my little holder for my phone trying to figure out if I would actually want to do another like .90 race. Not Dave Stein. I think the Dave Stein thing is kind of not worn itself out, but it's kind of run to its end and stuff. But an actual like sportsman type event, with that. But I don't know. So I guess somebody would have to talk me off the ledge from having to do it again.
Now you're talking bringing all the classes in, basically like a divisional type deal.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we did at the Dave Stein last year. We had the .90 racers. We had the top 32. We didn't have stock of super stock at that time, and then we had juniors, and I decided to add pro and super pro, and thank God I added pro and super pro to the event because I would have lost my shorts, really, because there was really no that car count really just. The .90 car count was really just was poor. I mean, because I've been actually going over the numbers right now and just looking at like where things would be like if I wanted even to do payouts. So last year we had 45 super comps on Sunday, Saturday, 41 on Sunday, 36 super gas on Saturday, 29 on Sunday, 35 super street, and 29 on Sunday. And then Super Pro, we had 100 Super Pro cars on Saturday and 73 on Saturday, and then 68 Pro and 59 Pro. And then Juniors was like 59 and 55. It was like 383 total car count on Saturday and like 270 something, or it was on Sunday. Sunday, no matter what you go to, is always a lower car count than your Saturday car count. Guys just don't like racing on Sunday. Guys want to get home because they got work the next day. So you always get a little bit of a hit on Sunday than you do Saturday. So, but I don't know. This is a time when I always wish Pete was on so that Pete could kind of be like me and Pete could argue it out. But
I'm sure he'll watch and he'll get in touch with you. So. All right, well, let me ask you this then. Obviously, like you said, the Stein race kind of started to trail off. But what makes Uncle Buck's weekend the success that is year after year? Do you have a thought on that one? Because that is, you have to admit, obviously it's your race that you put on. And having come down to check it out myself, that's a really popular race both days.
I think I mean, to be completely honest with you, the car counts really aren't the greatest at the Uncle Buck. Well, for the most part, I think, what did we do last year? Last year we had the top sportsman and top dragster guys with us. And then they did a pro tree challenge race also that day. And I don't think the pro tree race wasn't as successful as it normally was. And I think we might have had about a total of like 67, 68 total .90 cars. And I think we had like 25 top sportsman, top dragster cars. So I think it was a total of like about 200 cars total. But I think it's a tradition. It really is. It's like Indy. It's like, I know it's not Indy. I know it's Cecil County, but everybody looks at it as, it's the 31st year of it. It's a long going tradition. Everybody loves the barbecue on Saturday night. And I tell people, I said, even if you don't come to the race, just pull your motorhome up, just come down on a Saturday, come up with a motorhome and just hang out. And that's what happens a lot of the times is the Donhausers are part of a Moose Lodge that's in Bel Air, Maryland. And pretty much the whole Moose Lodge shuts down for that day, and they all come to Cecil County, and they line the whole back part of the pits by the wood area with their campers and their stuff, and they just basically party all weekend. They party from Friday night all day Saturday, and then Sunday they start kind of loading up, and then once George actually loses, you'll see a lot of them start to kind of roll out for the day. They don't stay until the final round. But once George loses, then they pack up and go home. But I mean, I just think it's the camaraderie, it's everybody together, and that's what people want, and that's what I think people like to see is they want to see the best bang for their buck coming to a race. And we offer 2 races for 1 tow, and then we feed you on Saturday night, which makes it even better because maybe I think it's just a tradition. The people that knew who Ronnie Harper was, who Uncle Buck was, and just wanted to honor his life and legacy.
Fair enough. I mean, and it's obviously I brag a lot about the trophy, but adding something unique to winning that race, like the Piggy Trophy and stuff, makes it something different.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do. We try to make stuff that's different from normal. You have a Piggy Trophy for the Uncle Buck. When we go to Maple Grove, it's the Northeast Shootout, so it's a double gun trophy going across. Different. When we go to Mason Dixon, it's a North versus South trophy, so it's a actual cutout diamond of North versus South on there, and then you have your regular .90 ones for the other events. So it's plus the Pig Roast, you get the engraved cutting boards, and then we did the medals too, the medallions for you to win. So we did those again this year. So big checks. So it's stuff that you feel, like it just doesn't go by the wayside that you won an event there. It's something that you can wake up the next day, you can look out in your garage, and be like, oh man, there's that check I won from one of Rob's races. Oh, there's the trophy with the medallion around it. Like, I mean, like I told when Pete was on, I'll never be NHRA. I'm never going to be able to compete with NHRA and stuff. But if we can make it that when they show up and they feel wanted and they feel like when they leave on a Sunday that this is one of the better races they've attended in a really long time and they won't miss it, that's when I feel like my job was done. And cool. I will, any feedback that anybody ever wants to tell me, I'll be more than glad to take it and see what I could do to make their experience even better than it already is. So.
Fair enough. I mean, like I said, that to me, that's one of the best independent races on the East Coast.
Yeah, I just I wish we could get more cars. I wish we will have this year. We will have the stock and super stock guys with us this year, and they'll experience their first pig roast. And I know a lot of them guys are excited about it. We'll have the juniors with us. .90 guys, top 32, and then there is a gamblers race also that weekend. So it will be an action-packed weekend full of racing. So, like I said, if you haven't marked it on your calendar, I know, the biggest thing here from a lot of people is it's X amount of races in a row and stuff. And it's the same thing I kind of hear about the Mason Dixon race is X amount of races in a row. It's too far away. It's, but I don't know, when somebody offers a date, that's what I got to take. Just like with Maple Grove, and me and Shane went back and forth, probably a month of emails back and forth with Joe, trying to find a date to try to get us in for the 2024 season. And we just couldn't come to anything. We just could not come to anything. And finally, Dana got a hold of Kyle. Kyle was like, hey, how about you guys run with our bracket program? And as long as we all work together and everybody's on the same page and we're getting cars down. I mean, that's the main thing. That's the main thing of finishing a race is having the lanes full, having cars going down the racetrack. And that's the biggest thing. And that's, when you have a delay, when you have guys that are, and that's one of the things that irks me so much is that, when they get up there and they want to ask their competitor what they're doing for Thanksgiving, what's going on for Christmas, what's the plan for this? It's like, guys, come on, let's get in our car, let's get down there, let's go racing because we have a race, we have a time, we're not going to race till 4:00 in the morning. We have 11 o'clock. It's when the curfew is. Let's go.
Yep. Well, you can only do what you can with what you got.
Yes.
As cliche and whatever as it sounds, the fact, I guess.
Also, I do want to, I know you probably go through results and stuff like that, but I do want to mention one quick thing. Everybody knows Mike Summers, who was the chief starter for Maple Grove for many, many years. He also worked at Cecil County, worked at New Media. A lot of people don't really know this about him, but when Carl Ruth was around, when Carl Ruth used to have I think it was a 56 T-Bird funny car that he destroyed at, I think, Bristol that one year. Mike actually used to be the crew chief on Carl Ruth's funny car. Of course, he passed away shortly before I think the division race there at Maple Grove. He had some strokes leading up to it, but the June 22nd, at their bracket race, I believe Shane, who also runs in Super Pro and is their general manager at Maple Grove, is going to take Mike for one last ride, and I'm not sure if it's they're going to do his ashes or just however to do it. So if you're in the vicinity, June 22nd or near Maple Grove, and such, try to swing on by and pay, if you didn't make it to the funeral or the viewing for Mike, to pay your last respects and stuff. So
Very cool. That's a class thing to do.
Yep.
Well, all right, Mr. Keister. I know you got 1,047 things to do before you call it a night, but so I appreciate you coming on and filling in for Pete.
Nah, bed's coming soon. 5 a.m. comes quickly. I have to go back into Philly tomorrow, so.
Oh, all right. Oop.
I was trying to
I didn't know if you fell out of your chair or what.
I hit the little stand.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you for coming on and hanging out. I appreciate you filling in for Pete. And we will be back in a couple weeks. Next week I restart chemo, so not gonna happen. But thank you, Lenny Lottig, for coming on and talking about Factory X and everything else. And Rob, we'll see you Saturday at Lebanon Valley.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Bye.
All right, gang. We are out of here. Got a couple things to do. I got a tent set up in my front yard. I gotta go take down. Like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be talking with Steve Musser from the Time Bomb Nostalgia Funny Car. And have a great night. And thank you for coming on and hanging out with us. We'll see you later.